Something big is happening on the front lines of Ukraine right now. The Russians are pushing harder than they have in a long time. I've been speaking to soldiers and units who are on the front right now in the Donbas in the east and the south, and they've said that the Russians are throwing everything they have at certain areas like Pokrovsk. And it sounds like they're gearing up for battles like we saw in 2023, places like Bakhmut. And we can speculate on why this is happening, whether it's Putin being desperate to grab as much land as possible, whether it's about Trump's 50 days. But I want to go to the Donbas and find out myself a full picture, how soldiers are feeling right now, what the morale is like, what the civilians feel like in those areas. It's great to comment and speculate and talk about politics from here in Kyiv, but it's really hard to get a full picture unless you also go to the front lines, see it and hear it for yourself. And I've done this for the last 2 years, but I'm going to go now because things are changing rapidly. And it's not just on the front lines, it's also in technological advancement. I spoke to the 3rd Assault Brigade a couple of days ago, and they said in the last week, and this might be the first time in the history of warfare, they stormed a Russian position using only unmanned ground drones, basically robots. And it represents a huge turning point in warfare, the fact that that's happening today. And it's also at a time where drones are now advancing even more than ever. This is becoming exponential, and they're using AI. And I remember the last time I was on the front line, which was 3 months ago in Kupiansk, we were always told to look up at the sky. If you see a drone, you run and you hide. Now, apparently you look on the sides of the roads, because the Russian line streets and line roads with FPV drones on standby. Some of these have solar panels, and they wait. And they wait until they see a target, a truck going past, a car, or a civilian, or a soldier, and then they take off. It's like having an IED take off and chase you, or a landmine literally lift off the ground and run after you at 120 kilometers an hour. So it's a new threat. I've been sent videos of some of these roads that I've been on this year, now covered in nets, in what look like football nets. This is also all happening at the same time Russia has promised to try and hit Ukraine with up to 2,000 Shahed drones at the same time, all in the same night, to overwhelm air defense systems. And they've just released a sleek promo showing the drone production factory, showing how these things are made. And it looks like something literally out of Mordor. And so everything is advancing and changing rapidly right now. And it's really, really difficult to get a full picture of what's going on in this country if you're just here in Kyiv. So I'm going to go to the Donbas, and I'm going to speak to units. I'm going to speak to civilians as well and see how they feel about living in these towns that might get taken by the Russians. And that's important as well, because it combats Russian propaganda. Because as soon as the Russians take a village or a town, or God forbid a city, the first thing they do is they lie. And they get the leftover civilians, the people that couldn't leave, to lie to the camera under interrogation and say that they were waiting to be liberated. Well, for the last few years, I've been interviewing people all across the eastern and the southern front who are now in occupied territories, places like Chasiv Yar, who said they weren't waiting for anyone. They couldn't afford to leave, and they shouldn't have to leave, but they despised Russia and they wanted nothing to do with them. So it's important to capture all of this as evidence for the archives. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. But before I go on these trips, I always like to speak to someone that's just got back from the same areas. And 2 of my friends have just got back from exactly where I'm going to go. And they've just also said that they're happy to talk about this on camera. So I'm going to sit down with them now in the next 5 minutes, and I'm going to ask them what to expect. Okay, so I'm back at the same cafe I was a couple of days ago, and my friends have just arrived.
Yeah, it's nice to see you.
So when did you get back, and where exactly did you just go?
We were in the Pokrovsk direction, really, really close. I think about 14 kilometers from zero. We're getting absolutely hammered in that specific corner constantly. Every single day they're bringing a lot of power and newer weapons, newer drones, specialists. You're seeing very specialized teams.
I heard that there are sort of FPVs waiting on the sides of roads now that can take off. Did you see anything like this, or were you aware of that happening?
100%. There's, I guess they call them spider drones, even before Operation Spiderweb or whatever. They're kind of what people call them. But they have had those, and they're mostly outside, in between. It's like a landmine almost, where it would be on a road that is really on the conflict side. Mm-hmm. So like if we were inside of the town and then on the safe side of the town, so then on the other side, on the way to the zero line, that's where those would be. So if you're going to position, then that's the guys who are going to position. They encounter that.
What would you say the main thing to watch out for is, because it's been 3 months since I've been on that route, and it seems like I'm getting different information from lots of different people on what to do as a precaution. What do you suggest?
The best thing to do is to really pay attention to what's in the air, have an open schedule, and be okay with delays. If there's too much stuff flying in the air, do not go into the town, because they will be dropping serious ordnance in that town. It's not Disneyland anymore. It is very much a all the way out to like 50 kilometers you can be a part of a strike, and you could be targeted specifically with a drone that you can't run away from.
Yeah.
So the Cobb glide bombs and the drones are kind of the main concern. And the glide bombs, the only real thing you can do is to pay attention to what's in the air. If something that carries a glide bomb is in the air, don't be there. Just be outside of the range. If you're already there and something's in the air like that, wrap it up, figure out how best to get what you need, get back in the vehicle, get out of there. Don't hang out.
Right, so I thought that I would end this video here, but I've just got on the road and there's been a really significant update that I had to include in this report, and that's that Deep State has officially said that the city of Pokrovsk has now been entered by the Russians. That doesn't mean it's going to be taken right now by the Russians, but the Russians have now officially entered the city. They've also described the situation as catastrophic, and that signals a really big turning point. It doesn't just show that what we said at the start of the video is now actively happening, but it shows that there's very likely going to be a Bakhmut-style battle that's going to start now in Pokrovsk. And Bakhmut didn't fall quickly. It took a very, very long time. But if we look back, it was one of the bloodiest battles in Ukraine, one of the bloodiest battles in modern warfare history in Europe. And it looks like this will be right at the beginning of it. And I'm not going to obviously talk about exactly where I'm going to go on the front. That's very bad OPSEC. But what I can say is I'm going to be able to build a really comprehensive picture of what's happening all along the Donbas. I'm not going to go to the city of Pokrovsk because from what I've been told in the last 3 hours, nobody is getting in and out other than military, volunteers, journalists, nobody. I think the Kyiv Independent were the last journalists to visit that city, and that was last weekend, and what they filmed was really, really dramatic. But I'm still going to be speaking to soldiers and units who are based there, who have been doing work there for a long time, and they can give us a picture on how things are, what the feeling is like, what they're going to expect for the future. And I'm going to be bringing, as often as possible, updates over the next few days. There might be points where we're staying with units and we can't even turn our phones on because we'll be within range of FPVs, and the Russians can see almost everything that happens within 20 kilometers of the front now, and it's advisable, especially if you have a foreign phone, to have that turned off all the time. So I'll bring as much as possible in the next few days, but if you don't hear from me, everything is still fine, and I'm going to conclude this whole journey with a comprehensive film. If you look back at my Kupiansk film 3 months ago, it'll be similar to that, or the Kursk film that Harry and I did as well around Christmas time. So that's everything that's happening now. That's the latest update since I started filming that video this morning, and I will see you on the other side.